Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining me. Part 3, UFOs, Aliens, Fallen Angels, the Truth Comes Out. I want, if you have not done so, I want you to go to Part 1 and watch that. There's a video provided in the description box. I want you to watch that, watch Part 1. Part 2, there's also a video, it's quite lengthy, in the description box, and it has to do with the New World Order, One World Government, secret societies, and all of this plays an important part in these demonic, extra-dimensional beings and what we see in the sky that appear to be UFOs. That, a lot of them can't be explained. We're going to cover a great deal in this series. We're going to be looking at orbs, and it almost appears that they are multiplying, like they're hatching, and there's more orbs. We're going to take a look at the paranormal sightings, ghosts, mediums that speak to dead family members, and that has, everything is tied in. You're just going to have to stay with me. Everything is tied in. We're going to look at Mount Hermon, where the transfiguration of Jesus took place, and there's a connection with Area 51. That's going to be explained later. Mount Hermon, there's also a connection with the Watchers, the 200 angels that looked upon woman and wanted to take them and mate with them. And this is Mount Hermon is believed where they gathered and where the Watchers fell. A lot to cover, but right now we have to go back to Independence Day, on or around Independence Day 1947, and take another look at the Roswell incident. Now, all these years later, here we are, 2012, and it is still classified by the military. Top secret. Congressmen, presidents, even though they've tried, they cannot even access these files. Why is it still today classified top secret if it was just a weather balloon? If it was just a weather balloon. Now, there's a lot of sightings of UFO activity, especially in 2012. We see a great deal more in 2012, and a lot of it can be explained. And we're going way back, way back to 1947, I believe it was 52, when they were flying over our nation's capital. We're going to talk about that in a moment. But so many can be explained away as these helicopters or radio-controlled airplanes with the LED lights. I have seen that myself. And it does, from a distance, appear to be a UFO, but you can plainly tell it's not. Then you have people going around photoshopping UFOs into a picture, and they are deceiving everyone with a hoax. A lot of it can be explained away. We've got airplanes that people are mistaking for UFOs. Chinese lanterns, I've seen them personally, myself, and I was fooled. I thought there was a whole fleet of UFOs going overhead. I believe it was last summer. And the closer I got, I realized it was coming from someone's yard. And I believe they were probably having a wedding, something going on, and they were letting the Chinese lanterns go up. And it really looked like it could be a fleet of UFOs. So a lot of it can be explained. But scientifically, there are now, today, over 4,000 documented UFO sightings with no explanation. They remain unexplained. And before we go into, I got my notes today, what took place in Roswell, New Mexico. 13 NASA astronauts who flew space missions swear to this day that they've seen UFOs, and there's a cover-up. Ed Mitchell, Apollo 14, he clearly states NASA is covering up what really happened at Roswell, New Mexico. And we're going to take a look at Roswell, New Mexico in a few moments. Gordon Cooper and James Lovell, the aliens, are here. Frank Borman, Gemini 7, seen UFOs. Walter Serra, Mercury 8, 1968. He's the first astronaut to come out with the cover-up code name for these UFOs, Santa Claus. We've got Neil Armstrong, Apollo 11, Buzz Aldrin, July 21st, CIA cover-up, is what they're saying. John Blah, he's the one with the famous recording of we have the alien spacecraft under observation. Now, I'm going to play, before we get into Roswell, we got to take a look at that. I'm going to play something, a newscast, I believe it's CNN. I just want you to listen for a moment. Bear with me.
A group gathering here in Washington to talk about their UFO sightings, but this apparently is no crackpot convention. Former high-level government and military officials are among those sharing what they've seen in the skies. Our national correspondent Gary Tuckman is here. He's watching all of this unfold. So what's this conference, Gary, all about?
Well, Wolf, it's most interesting. A panel discussion within the Beltway about what might be taking place in the Milky Way and beyond. Have extraterrestrials visited us here on Earth? 14 men from 7 different countries participated in a panel discussion to describe why they believe UFOs have visited Earth. And these aren't guys they just picked up off the street. The panel includes former governor of Arizona, Mike Symington, who was one of many Arizonans who said they saw UFOs back in 1997 during an episode that is popularly referred to as the Phoenix Lights.
Major sighting here.
We want the United States government to stop perpetuating the myth that all UFOs can be explained away and down to earth in conventional terms. Instead, our country needs to reopen its official investigation that it shut down in 1969.
Also participating was a retired Air Force captain who says he and his passengers saw a huge flying disc. Also a retired Peruvian Air Force pilot who says he came within 300 feet of a circular UFO flying at 63,000 feet. And then there was a retired U.S. Air Force security officer who, while stationed in England, was summoned to a downed aircraft in a forest.
When we came up on the triangular-shaped craft, there were blue and yellow lights swirling around the exterior as though they were part of the surface. The air around us was electrically charged, and we could feel it on our clothes, our skin, and our hair.
Well, Hedison then says the craft took off. He never saw any beings inside or outside the UFO. He says he took pictures, but inferred they were purposely overexposed by the government. Now, we've talked to the FAA before about investigating these kinds of claims, but the agency says, quote, it does not have the power to investigate. We've covered a few of these kinds of stories before, Wolf, and one thing that we always mention to the enthusiasts is that one of these craft came down on Earth and did an interview with one of us, but the day would be over. But that hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet, but there's, who knows? Could happen. Gary, thanks very much for that report. By the way, there have even been some UFO sightings reported right here in the nation's capital. There was a flurry of them back in July of 1952 when the Air Force investigated but was never able to solve or prove anything. Take a look at these headlines. Aerial, what's its buzz? D.C. again. Air Force after D.C. saucers, jets ready to chase lights. Jets ordered to hunt down flying saucers. There was a lot of hype, a lot of excitement back in 1952.
And we'll put the link to this video, CNN broadcast, in the description box below. In fact, it was July 19th through the 26th, 1952, when these fleets of UFOs just kept going over the Capitol building. They sent jets to sortie after them. They'd disappear, and they'd come back. We're going to take a look at Roswell, New Mexico again. What happened on or around Independence Day in 1947? This object lands near Roswell, New Mexico. The sheriff at the time, George Wilcox, contacts the Army at the Army airfield regarding wreckage discovered on Mac Brazel's ranch. That landed and it crashed on this ranch. I don't want to run out of time. I'm going to have to do it on another part 4. Now the Army comes in, seals off, quarantines off the area, and confiscates every bit, every piece of evidence to be continued in part 4. Watch this in its entirety. God bless everybody.